Hi, AK. Thank you so much for joining us on the Foghorn Podcast today. I'm so happy to have you here. And so
Hi, Jasmine. Thank you so much for having me.
And I guess we'll just start straight away. We'll just get straight to the point. So what would you like to share with us today?
Well, okay, so today actually I do have a lot of things to talk about, but one thing which actually in particular bothers me because I myself being a university student in year one, I've always seen how people tend to keep comparing themselves with other students, be it in terms of grades, assessments, body type, mentally, physically.
Wow.
So I've actually seen this my entire high school life, and then universities just started. So I thought probably as you grow older, people would understand, and that maturity level, of course, comes with age. And little did I know that it's actually it's something that's not going to change over time. The fact that people constantly they compare themselves with other people, and then I've seen people get demotivated. They tend to think about all negative thoughts come into their mind, and so it does affect them really badly. So I think today I just wanted to touch upon that topic, and I just wanted to share my point of view with everyone out there. So yeah.
Wow, that's great. And have you experienced any of this comparing yourself, or
Yep,
are you doing
I
anything?
myself have.
And can you tell us about
Yeah,
that?
I actually have. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So I think beginning with my high school, I've actually, because okay, parents, Asian parents, for example, we always have this tendency of comparing their kids to other kids. And I know I mean, in a way, they just want the best for us. They're just setting an example for us. But at the end of the day, we all are friends, we all are classmates. But when we go and seek help and stuff like that, sometimes they're not willing to share their thoughts. Sometimes it's just oh, you can do this on your own and stuff. But the thing is, for example, me, I've seen myself compare myself with a lot of people, but then I realized that comparing is not going to lead you anywhere, because all of us, each one of us, have this life which is created by God, and we just need to go with the flow. That is, I think that's when during my 10th grade examinations or 12th grade examinations, I realized that at the end of the day, grades are not something that matter all the time. Life is just more than just grades. Your life is not being based on marks, it's not being graded. The more experiences that you have, the more opportunities that come your way, that is, I think that itself is a lesson that you're learning in life. So I think I myself, I felt really down when I started comparing myself to people. I used to fail a lot, and that's when I realized that there's no point comparing myself to other students, because they themselves, obviously we all put in different amounts of hard work in whatever we do. But I think at the end of the day, what really matters is how I think you are your best judge of yourself. And that would be better. If I think there's no point comparing yourself with other people, because comparing will only lead to negative emotions,
So what?
negative thoughts,
So
and at
what?
the end of the day, it's just going
Yeah.
to harm yourself.
What feelings were you feeling when you were comparing yourself to others? How were you feeling? What came up?
Okay, how I was feeling was, I used to feel really embarrassed. I used to feel really disheartened. I used to feel ashamed of myself. I felt that I was not making my parents feel proud. I remember that getting report cards from school, and then teachers would be get your signatures from your parents, and I would feel so ashamed to show that report card to my parents, because at the end of the day, even though I made a progress of 10 to 20 marks, it was that grade that my parents did not want to see, because they always compared me with a person who would score 90% above. But now that has changed, of course, because I think I put down my point of view and I told them and explained them how I felt. And that's when they suddenly realized, okay, that maybe we need to be less harsh on her. But I think for me, yeah, I've always felt I would always have anxiety attacks, and I would just feel sad.
Really?
So yeah,
Wow.
but I think at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I just worked on myself, and
So this
results eventually paid off.
so this pressure, the pressure to get high grades didn't actually help you get high grades?
Yeah. No, no. I think it's just like they would constantly pressurize you. I know that at the end of the day, every parent or every teacher wants the best in their student, but at the end of the day, I think that extra pressure that was built of constantly getting better grades or getting higher grades and trying to top the entire class was something I think I even like till today I don't understand the need of it. I think the best way to be successful is just to work on yourself and constantly keep working on yourself. And if you just keep constantly working on yourself, hard work will surely pay off one day. So then that's when you realize that you're successful.
And did you tell any of your friends when you were going through this, like when you had all of this pressure and you were feeling anxiety and ashamed, did you speak to anyone about it?
Well, yeah, I did have a couple of friends who were like really good listeners. They would always like talk to me, and then they would share their feelings. I would share my feelings, and so it was like we kind of like built this family kind of relationship with our friends, with like with my close friends, and I felt that I could rely on them and their honest opinions. And I mean, like I think every person goes through this phase, or every student goes through this phase where there are certain things you can't really share with your parents, but at the end of the day, when you talk to some of your friends, you get that sense of relief, and then slowly later you tend to like realize how you can open up with your parents about a certain situation. And I think that's also what happens. My friends helped me talk through it, and then they helped me, they encouraged me to go and talk to my parents and express how I feel. So
Oh,
it
wow.
was,
So
yeah,
having a support network at school or university is really important then, because it
yes,
gave you
it is.
somewhere to express yourself safely,
Yeah,
freely, and in
yeah,
turn, courage to speak to your parents. And how was
yeah.
it speaking to your parents? How did they react?
Well, it was okay. Well, it was good because I think at the end of the day, they also had a lot of points in mind, which was correct, which was justifiable from their end. And I also had a lot of points and a lot of things that I would want to tell them and express how I feel. And it was also justifiable from my end. But at the end of the day, I think all they did say that you have to like always work hard and do this and that, but something which I was always like triggered about is why would they compare me with someone who's constantly getting good grades and stuff? Because like I might not be good at one thing, but I can be best at other tons of things. Like I may not be good academically, but like fine arts, music, art, that's what I do, and that's exactly what I love to do, and I've gotten awards for it. So I think if
Wow.
you're I mean, it's a balance of life. You can't be good at everything, right? It's just a form of expectation that people have from you, but not all the time that your expectations can be turned into reality. So at the end of the day, as long as you have a mutual understanding, there is good form of communication, and yes, I think at the end of the day, as long as you're proud of yourself, everything's gonna work out towards the end.
Well, I guess, yeah, that's important, how you talk to yourself and what you think about yourself. And what would you have
Yeah.
liked your teachers and parents to have known at that time that you couldn't tell them? Well, I guess you have kind of answered that question. But your teachers, would you have liked them to have known anything?
Well, okay, my teachers, I think some of my teachers, they were constantly like pressurizing me, and they would be like, you can do this, you can do this, you have potential, why you're not working hard? But I felt that I think and I felt that I worked with 100% of I put in 100% of my effort in whatever that I did. But obviously like there were some loose ends, there were some problems in me, and if like I couldn't focus and understand quite things completely. But some of the teachers, they actually did understand me completely, and there were certain teachers who would like call me up and always like check on me or email me and things like that, and they would always be that support system. They would always help me out, and they would always be there when I needed them. So I mean, like even though I've graduated from high school and stuff, I still do keep in touch with
Oh, wow.
most of my teachers, actually made a huge change in my life, and who just made me a better person. So yeah, just be grateful
Wow.
to them.
Wow. Okay. So your teachers played an important role. They helped you. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. And so how are you different now? Or how do you do things differently now compared to before?
Okay. So how I do things differently now is okay. Like before, I was. I mean, obviously, we all have been through this phase, and we all have been like different people before. But before I would like, for example, I would keep comparing myself. I would like get like I was emotionally unstable. Like my emotions were really high at particular time. But now I think I've learned to accept myself for who I am. I've
Wow,
learned to love myself. I've learned to be proud of myself in every little thing that I do.
that's
And
amazing.
once all of these things, yeah, so once all of these things come into place, and once you've started to realize that you are important to everyone around you, I think that's when you know that you're making great progress. You don't have to constantly compare yourself to other people because you yourself know that you are amazing at other things that you do. So you should be proud of that. I mean, obviously, we all have our flaws, we all have our weaknesses, but we should also tend to look at the strengths that we have, acknowledge it, and also be able to appreciate ourselves for whatever that we do. And just it's never going to work if you just tend to be so hard on yourself, because at the end of the day we all are humans, we all make mistakes. There's nothing wrong about not like making mistakes or anything, but at the end of the day what really matters is like as long as you've given yourself, like you've forgiven yourself, you've understood yourself. And this is not like it's a overnight kind of a thing. It takes a lot of years. For some people it takes years, for some people it takes months, for some people it takes weeks. But at the end of the day, as long as you're willing to work on yourself on a daily basis, that's when you
Mm.
see great improvement and great self-growth.
So
So yeah.
what did you do to help you come to that point of accepting yourself and not being so hard on yourself? Like, was there any action you actually took or any decisions you made? Like, how did you do that?
Okay, so for me, I think I've always been, experimenting with like the kinds of friends I've had. Like, I mean, obviously, we've all been betrayed, we've all been hurt. So I try to like sit back, understand, and understand what was wrong with me or what was wrong with the situation. Slowly, gradually, I started watching some I started hearing podcasts, or I started watching YouTube videos. I started watching some TED Talks just to like help myself and just to like because there were again like certain questions that I always wonder to myself subconsciously why such things happen. And then I started watching like TED Talks and stuff, and that's
Mm.
when I realized like, okay, it's like it gives you a sense of motivation. So I
Wow. So,
started looking for sources of inspiration, sources of motivation. I tried to see, am I the only one who's suffering this similar situation? Or are there more people apart from me who are in the same boat as me? And then when I realized that there are a lot of people who go through the same thing as me, and that's when I realized that if I help them um, motivate them, then they do the same with me. I think that's like self-growth for them and for me as well. Shetty, I watch his
wow.
podcasts. Yeah, I watch his YouTube videos. I bought his book, which is Think Like a Monk. So it just gives you a huge sense of motivation and inspiration, and in a way, it just transforms your life for the better. So yeah.
That's amazing what you said about it sounds like when you realized you weren't alone or the only one feeling like this or going through this experience. And I think that's
Yeah,
a really important point to make, because when you feel
yeah,
alone, that
yeah.
can lead to all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
difficult feelings. You can really detach yourself
Yeah,
and you can feel
yeah,
isolated.
definitely.
But like when you realize you're not alone and you start connecting with people, like you said, you can help each other,
Mm-hmm.
which is so important. Yeah, no, thank you for
Yeah,
that. And what would be your message now
no
to
worries.
teens going through similar situations? What would be your message to them and to the parents and to the teachers?
Well, okay, so my message for the teens of my age or younger would be just do not be hard on yourself. You don't have to constantly put yourself under pressure that you always have to get things right. It is okay to not be okay, as simple as it sounds, because life eventually gets better. My life, to be honest, like social life, for example, 5 years down the line, it was not good because I used to be verbally bullied. But now,
Oh, really?
because I've seen people go, I've seen people go through that phase. So now in a way, I try to be their source of inspiration and try to help them out. So I think we all have our ups and downs, but at the end of the day, just do not be so hard on yourself, because everyone is going through a rough time. As nice or as easygoing, as simple or as posh of a lifestyle that they show on screen or on social media or platforms like that, from internally or from the inside, they might be going through the roughest time of their life, but you just might not be able to know it because they're not being able to show it. But it is
Wow,
okay
that's
to
very
be
important.
expressive. It is okay to voice out your opinion. It is okay to be okay. You just have to be yourself. Because at the end of the day, life is not going to become better by being someone else. Life always gets better by just being yourself, because you need to appreciate the body, the mind, the soul that you've been given. And once you start to appreciate all of that, I think life and is gonna get better for you, and you will definitely be happy and much more successful than all the other people who tend to compare themselves with other people. So yeah.
Wow, that's a great piece of advice right there. Thank you so much. And what about to the parents and teachers?
Well, okay, so a piece of advice for the teachers and parents, of course, we consider them as our mentors, our gurus. But at the end of the day, I think a small piece of advice would be just not to be super harsh or super hard on the students or the child. I think it's always better. Like I have known people like their parents are not willing to understand, not willing to hear them out. But of course, majority of the parents do hear the children out, and the teachers also do. But there have been instances and there have been situations where the teachers and parents, in a way, sort of like neglect how the child feels, how the student feels. So in that cases, I think the best way is like obviously not to scold or anything, because I think scolding is not obviously, I mean, they do it for the betterment, but I think when emotions are too high, things get out of hand. But at the end of the day, as long as you have like some one-on-one time with the student or with the child, and try to see if the both of the parties are on the same level, then I think things can be clarified and things can be sorted out in a better and in a pleasant way. And at the end of the day, both of them would be happy. So yeah.
Well, that sounds like a great message and great advice. And it sounds like you're saying, yeah, be kind to yourself, and being hard on
Yeah.
yourself and just doesn't make you productive.
No, yeah, not at all. Yeah.
Brilliant. Anything else you would like to say before we leave?
Well, I think I just want like one last thing, and then the motto that I live by is just go with the flow. Like
Oh,
you
wow.
only live once, just go with the flow. Things eventually get better, and they will get better. You don't have to constantly work so hard on yourself and pressurize yourself unnecessarily, but just always be yourself, be kind to yourself first, put yourself before anyone else, and just slowly and steadily make self-improvement, self-growth, and it will definitely lead to a successful life.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
today. I'm sure many teens and parents and teachers will benefit from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.